first glance, people who fear intimacy don't always look afraid. Many appear confident, independent, even emotionally expressive. They can be charming, engaging, and seemingly open. They may talk about feelings, relationships, and vulnerability with ease. But when connection deepens, when emotional closeness becomes real, something shifts. They pull away. They go quiet. They disappear. The fear of intimacy is rarely about disliking connection. It's about what connection threatens to expose. Intimacy requires being seen without armor. It invites emotional visibility, unpredictability, and loss of control. For some people, that exposure feels less like closeness and more like danger. This fear doesn't come from nowhere. It's learned. Most people assume intimacy, fear, is about past heartbreak or betrayal. While those experiences can reinforce it, the roots usually go deeper, often into early emotional environments where closeness came with conditions, instability, or emotional cost. When intimacy is inconsistent, overwhelming, or unsafe early in life, the nervous system adapts. It learns that closeness doesn't equal comfort, equals risk. Love becomes unpredictable. Attention becomes volatile. Emotional needs become liabilities. So the mind develops strategies. Some people learn to detach emotionally while remaining socially engaged. Others become hyper-independent, relying only on themselves. Some intellectualize feelings instead of experiencing them. Others chase intensity but avoid consistency. All of these are ways of maintaining distance without appearing distant. Fear of intimacy often disguises itself as "I just haven't met the right person," or as self-sufficiency, "I don't need anyone," or as high standards. Most people can't meet me where I am. But beneath these narratives is often a deeper discomfort. If someone really knows me, they might leave, or worse, they might stay and see what I'm trying to hide. Intimacy threatens carefully constructed self-images. It dissolves roles. It reveals contradictions. And for people who learn to survive by managing perception, intimacy feels destabilizing. One of the most misunderstood aspects of intimacy fear is that it doesn't always involve emotional coldness. In fact, some of the most intimacy-avoidant individuals feel intensely. They love deeply, desire closeness, and crave connection. But because they associate closeness with loss, those feelings create internal conflict. The closer they get, the more activated their nervous system becomes. This is why people who fear intimacy often oscillate between pursuit and withdrawal. They crave connection, then panic when they receive it. They initiate closeness, then sabotage it. They want to be known, but not fully. This push-pull dynamic isn't manipulation, it's dysregulation. Another important factor is control. Intimacy reduces control. When someone knows you deeply, you lose the ability to fully manage how you're perceived. Your vulnerabilities become visible. Your inconsistencies become human. And for someone who learned that safety comes from control, this feels intolerable. So distance becomes protection. Some people fear intimacy because they grew up being emotionally responsible for others. They learned early that closeness meant obligation, caretaking, or emotional burden. In those cases, intimacy doesn't feel nourishing, it feels draining. Connection becomes associated with being needed rather than being supported. Others learned that vulnerability was punished, that expressing need led to rejection, ridicule, or neglect. Over time, they internalized the belief that closeness equals exposure, and exposure equals harm. So they stay just far enough away. Fear of intimacy also intersects with identity. Intimate relationships require flexibility. They require compromise. They require allowing another person to influence you. For people whose sense of self feels fragile, this influence can feel threatening. They fear losing themselves in connection. This fear is especially strong in people who've had to become self-reliant early. When independence becomes identity, intimacy can feel like regression. Needing someone feels like weakness. Trusting someone feels like surrender. So they choose distance not because they don't want closeness, but because closeness conflicts with who they had to become to survive. Emotionally, this creates a paradox. The very thing they long for is the thing they run from. And the running reinforces the belief that connection never works. Over time, avoidance becomes self-justifying. People with intimacy fear often attract partners who confirm their worldview. Emotionally unavailable people find each other. Or they attract partners who pursue harder, increasing pressure. Either way, the dynamic reinforces avoidance. When connection becomes intense, the fear surfaces. When connection fades, loneliness appears, and the cycle repeats. It's important to understand that intimacy fear is not a character flaw. It's an adaptation. It's the psyche doing its best to avoid pain based on past learning. But adaptations that once protected us can eventually imprison us. Fear of intimacy doesn't prevent connection, prevents depth. People may have relationships, friendships, even families, yet still feel unknown. They share experiences without sharing themselves. They are present but guarded. And while this may feel safer, it comes at a cost. Without intimacy, emotional life becomes muted. Joy becomes surface level. Love becomes conditional. And loneliness persists, even in proximity. As time passes, the fear of intimacy doesn't remain static. It shapes behavior, expectations, and emotional patterns in ways that become increasingly subtle. People stop noticing the fear itself, and instead experience its consequences: restlessness, dissatisfaction, recurring relationship patterns that never quite resolve. What's especially difficult is that avoidance often feels like clarity. Walking away feels decisive. Detachment feels strong. Independence feels empowering. And in a culture that values self-sufficiency, these traits are often praised. But avoidance is not the same as freedom. True freedom includes the capacity to choose closeness without panic. Avoidance restricts choice. It narrows emotional range. It creates a life that looks functional on the outside, but feels incomplete on the inside. Many people who fear intimacy believe they are protecting themselves from pain. But what they're actually avoiding is emotional uncertainty. Intimacy requires sitting with not knowing how long something will last, how deeply it will affect you, how much it might change you. Avoidance creates predictability. Distance feels manageable, but predictability comes at the expense of meaning. Fear of intimacy also distorts perception. People begin interpreting closeness as pressure, care as intrusion, and vulnerability as risk. They may feel smothered by reasonable needs or overwhelmed by normal emotional expectations. This isn't because their partners are too demanding. It's because closeness activates unresolved emotional memories. The body reacts before the mind understands. When someone pulls away from intimacy, they often experience relief. That relief reinforces avoidance. The nervous system learns distance equals safety. Over time, this pattern becomes automatic. But relief is not fulfillment. Fulfillment requires tolerance. Tolerance for vulnerability, for discomfort, for being seen in ways you can't control. And that tolerance is built gradually, not by forcing intimacy, but by understanding the fear beneath it. Fear of intimacy often masks fear of abandonment. Some people avoid closeness not because they don't want connection, but because they don't trust it to last. They leave before they can be left. Others fear engulfment, the loss of autonomy within connection. They worry intimacy will consume them, define them, or trap them in expectations they can't meet. Both fears stem from the same root: unresolved relational trauma. Healing intimacy fear doesn't mean rushing into closeness. It means learning to stay present when closeness arrives. It means noticing the urge to flee without acting on it immediately. It means separating present experiences from past associations. This process requires self-honesty. Avoidance thrives on rationalization. People tell themselves stories that justify distance. I'm just not ready. I work better alone. I don't believe in labels. Sometimes these statements are true. Often they're shields. Real connection doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. Intimacy is not about merging or losing yourself. It's about allowing mutual influence while maintaining selfhood. It's about being known without being consumed. For people who fear intimacy, this balance feels foreign, but it's learnable. What often changes everything is recognizing that intimacy is not something done to you. It's something you participate in. You retain agency. You choose what to share. You choose when to lean in. You choose when to pause. Fear tells you that closeness equals loss of control. Reality says closeness can coexist with autonomy. The people who stop running from intimacy aren't those who become fearless. They're those who learn to stay anyway, to breathe through discomfort, to tolerate being seen, to let connection unfold without managing every outcome. And when they do, something unexpected happens. Connection stops feeling threatening. Vulnerability stops feeling like exposure. And intimacy becomes what it was always meant to be: not a trap, not a test, but a shared human experience. The fear doesn't disappear overnight, but it loses its authority. And in that space, real connection becomes possible, not because fear is gone, but because it's no longer in control.